So hello everybody, welcome back. We are going to continue talking about food. Oh hell yes, because this topic is not just about food. It's about a lot of things. So, grab your coffee and your notebook because you might need to take notes on this one. Now, if you wanted to share a coffee with me, you can do that in the link down below. Thank you very much. And if you wanted to help me out, you can also send an Amazon gift card. The email is down below. Thank you. And anyway, so, several things. Number one, no particular order. Do you know how to handle leftovers? And do you know if people around you are okay about dealing with leftovers and all of that? Because dealing with the leftovers can actually poison you. And in some instances, certain things, if they are left unattended with certain bacteria and all of that, they can actually kill you. So people, when they are dealing with leftovers, they don't know how to do it. Like, more than half of my friends, when they are handling leftovers, they will go, for example, and they are taking a soup in a bowl. So they take half of the soup, and then the other half, they just put it in a container and save it. Yeah, that food is already contaminated, and that food, as soon as you try to eat it, it will already have a hell of a lot of bacteria, even if you were to put it in the refrigerator as soon as you finish the eating thing. The reason for that is because every time that you taste something, as in, even if you put a spoon, you put it in your mouth and then you put it back into the food, yeah, that thing just contaminated the whole thing. So a lot of people will not think about this, and then they just go kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to eat it later. So you taste food, then you save it, and then even if it is for a couple of hours, and then they eat it. And then there is people that will do this with baby food. Like you prepare, the baby bottle, and then if the baby doesn't drink the whole thing, then some people will just save it for later. Yeah, that thing is filled with bacteria also. And leftovers are also water. So for example, if you're drinking water from one glass, and then you save that glass, or that juice, you drink half of the juice and then you put it back in the fridge, and then you take the other half, that is already contaminated with certain bacteria. Now, depending upon how long it has been or whatever, the bacteria might give you a headache, it might give you problems in your stomach, but sometimes certain bacteria is actually very, very, very dangerous, because there are certain bacteria that the only thing that will kill them is a hell of a lot of heat, as in, fire. And since you don't have fire in your stomach, despite the sensation that you might get like something is on fire in your stomach, your stomach actually does not produce fire. So, this thing can actually get into your entire body. And then in there, it will also produce a hell of a lot of gases and stuff like that. And then this will also accelerate your process of obesity, diabetes, and they will also accelerate the process of aging and other stuff like that. So you need to learn how to handle leftovers if that is something that you are willing to do. The problem with leftovers is the fact that leftovers is food that is not fresh. And food that is not fresh doesn't have the same amount of life energy or life force or whatever, which is something that most people do not get, because we don't experience that. Most people are used not aware of the spiritual energy that food has. And so, that is a whole new other topic, and I'm not going to talk about it because most people just won't get it. And anyway, food is just, we are talking about food like a survival mean thing. We are not talking about the spiritual thing, because if we were going to talk about the spiritual part of food, then hell, we will have like billions of ideas, and then most people will just lose it. So anyway, point being that food that is old, as in it has been preserved for too long or whatever, if it doesn't have the same capacity of retaining the nutrients, then you are feeding the stomach. You are getting some form of energy, but you are not getting nutrition from that. And so you might want to reconsider how you handle leftovers, especially from other people. As in, you need to serve the exact portion that people are going to consume. You cannot just put food into everybody's plate and then assume that they will all have the same amount of food, because that doesn't happen. It's like when you go to a cafeteria and everybody gets 2 spoons of rice, and then 2 spoons of this, and 2 spoons of that, and 1 spoon of that, and that's it. And then you have a lot of leftovers. And then a lot of people won't eat the rice, or won't eat the meat, or won't eat whatever. And so not only you are wasting food, but at the same time, you have a lot of leftovers. These leftovers can be used for animal food if you have a processor in your house for doing that. Or you can just throw it directly, all of them, to the animals. But the thing is that a lot of people will not consume leftovers because they already have sensitive stomachs. They have problems with certain bacteria or whatever, so they have to go on a diet in which everything have to be fresh. And so this can create problems in terms of the schedule for eating for everyone. Because if you put a schedule, everybody at 6 o'clock in the morning are going to eat. And then most of the people are like, no, we're not eating at that time or whatever. It's going to be an issue. So this is very important to understand. And also, when you go to somebody else's house, if they do leftovers, like I said, you probably are going to be kind of like, what is this? And why are we eating this thing or whatever? And so when you're dealing with leftovers, most of the time, the best way to do this will be with a hell of a lot of fire when you are recooking them or remaking them. And this means that you will need more seasoning, different kind of seasoning, by the way, because if not, you may also lose the flavor. And then, like I said, the best choice for food will be, number one that is natural. I have mentioned this before. You want to try to avoid plastic. Number two, the containers that have the food, you want the containers to be a certain type of plastic, and that way, they will not be contaminated with BPA and other stuff that are very, very bad. The type of plastic is usually, I think, don't quote me on it because I don't, I saw this information and I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't find it. And the plastic is, I think it's number 1 and number 7. Number 1 and 7, I think, or number 1 and number 4 or something like that. But the point is that, you may want to consider the container in which the food is in. By the way, the best container for food is always going to be ceramics and glass. But of course, they are too heavy and they break and it's bad and all of that, so not doable. However, if you do have the choice to do this, then, you might want to learn that one. And also, other things. This one is one tip. If you wanted to get meat that it is fresh, I have mentioned this before, you want to go to the countryside and have somebody, share all the meat from one animal and then buy it between 3 or 4 families or something like that. But the thing is that I forgot to mention that if you go to a restaurant in the countryside, a lot of people will do this, by the way. They will have meat that it is cheaper than in the cities and even restaurants in other places. Because usually restaurants in the countryside, usually, not all the time, but most of the time, the restaurant will have like a farm right next to them, or in the back or very, very, very close. And so let's say that they are selling meat for Friday or Saturday, whatever day, and they kind of have an estimate on how much meat they are supposed to get. So in the morning, they will sacrifice one animal, and then that is going to be for that day. That means that, the meat that you are actually consuming is from that day. And not only that, but they can sell it to you by kilos or by pounds, already cooked by fire in a wood thing, in a wood oven thing. It's not cooked into regular fire from propane or anything like that. It's cooked the most natural that they can do it, because this is a countryside, and in the countryside they don't have they barely have a lot of things. So they will sell it to you very, very well cooked, very, very well seasoned, because they will ask you how do you like it, and they will apply very, very simple kind of seasoning, because they cannot be sophisticated. And they will sell it to you by, like I said, by kilo or something. So some people will go there once a week. They will buy, let's say, 5-10 kilos, and then they will have it all into a bag, and then they will bring it home. When you bring it home, you can actually, by the way, they will sell this to you cut and everything, already prepared, already everything. So you can do a lot of food from this food that they are giving you in a pack. You can freeze it, you can cut it even smaller, and sometimes, depending upon whether you know the person in the restaurant, you can ask them to cut it smaller or bigger or whatever, and they can separate it to you, so that this one is for making stew, this one is for making soup, this one is for making breakfast, and this one is for making others and stuff. So they will separate it for you, they will cut it, they will cook it, and basically that you saved propane, you saved everything, and that this meat is fresh. And it doesn't have to be meat like cow, they can also be pigs and chickens and everything. And it's something that it's fresh is better than going to the supermarket. But the thing is that going to the countryside to these restaurants is expensive in terms of gasoline and the car and all of those things. But if it is an option for you, I highly recommend that if you're a person that consumes a lot of meat, that one will be better. Because, like I said, it will be your best choice in terms of freshness, and your best choice in terms of saving time, propane, and all of that. And you can also ask for specific cuts and specific things. And the flavor of this thing is going to be entirely different than the one that you make at home. Because like I told you, they would make it with kind of like, think of cave people trying to cook something. They will do it with stones and other things that you don't have access to in the city. And so, what I recommend is, I have a friend that does this. I'm not able to do it. I don't have a car, and I don't want to deal with the headache. So anyway, she goes like once every other week to the restaurant. She asks for 10 kilos of these, 5 kilos of these. By the way, you can also ask in these restaurants for specific things like sausages and things that they will do for you fresh from that day. Because the thing, if you go to a countryside, they don't have refrigerators. It's a hell of a lot of a problem to try to get a refrigerator. So everything that they do, it needs to be fresh, because they don't have access to also a lot of electricity, propane, refrigerators, and all of that, and so they don't want to deal with the headaches. So everything is either fresh or they won't do it. So if you go to the eat in the countryside and you expect to have the food delivered in 5 minutes, yeah, good luck with that. It's probably going to take at least half an hour. So you can ask the owner, if I come here next week, will you have me sausages? Will you have me these? Or will you prepare these for me? Or blah, blah, blah. So you can make agreements with these people and they will do it for you, and it's going to be cheaper than other things, and it's going to be handmade, and it's going to be fresh, and all of that. So my friend does this, and then and then when she comes home, she vacuum seals almost everything. By the way, she stopped doing the vacuum seal thing because she cannot have access to the plastic bag sealing thing. So she cannot, you cannot seal with any kind of plastic bag. You need the special kind of plastic bag, and she can't find that one. So she's now just freezing it. And also, you can ask in the countryside, you can ask them to have the meat cut, for example, 1 week. Right now, you pay for it right now, but you say, don't give it to me. Just make it salty and then prepare it with salt, stuff like that, which is called tasajo. By the way, this one was an exporting kind of thing that we have in the countryside here. Tasajo means that basically you dehydrate the meat through salt. And then you also add a little bit of seasoning and stuff, and you use a hell of a lot of sun and other things. And when it is done properly, my God, that is like, it's almost like beef jerky or something like that, but this one is different because it's all very, very, very natural. And it has a hell of a lot of salt, like sea salt, not just salt from the supermarket, but sea salt. And it's very, very, very good, and that's why it was an exporting kind of thing that we used to do. So if you can go to a restaurant and ask, in the countryside, and ask them, can you do this for me, or something like that, they might be able to do it. They will charge you a little bit more. And if you're expecting the 10 kilos that you just bought to be 10 kilos, oh hell no, that thing is going to be dehydrated, which means that it's going to weight less, but at least it will be able to support longer periods of times to to not be bad, because it has been treated with all of that. So basically it can last for years, and you won't get sick from eating it, because like I said, it has a lot of salt, and the sea salt will absorb oxygen and will absorb a lot of bacteria and other things. So you might be able to do that in the countryside restaurants and stuff like that. And that is, like I said, if you have access to that in the countryside and stuff like that. Because a lot of people from the city are getting pissed on the fact that the cities are getting meat, but they are too expensive. And when they are frozen, they weight more, obviously, because it has more water. And then when you cook it, it goes to boom. So 1 kilo, it can be transformed into like 700 grams or something immediately, just because you're losing water and you're losing the ice and the stuff that, that it came with the package. So, oh hell, it feels like a ripoff when you're going to the supermarket to buy this thing. And also because in the supermarkets, you do not know how long the meat has been there. And also the supermarkets required to sell these things like meat and other things, they need to sell it more expensive, way more expensive. The reason is because obviously they need to keep the refrigerators. And keeping a refrigerator, like I said, requires technicians, requires electricity, requires spare parts, requires regulation, requires cleaning it, requires, a hell of a lot of other things. So, by the way, there will be people also in certain places that when they just want to get rid of bacteria and bad things, they will just spread chemicals all over the supermarket, and those chemicals are entering the things that are in the refrigerator area. That includes fruits, vegetables, and others. So basically, you're eating a lot of pesticides and other things that the supermarket needs to do to apply so that everything kind of stays the same without having rodents all over the place. So, this is why you also need to wash a lot the vegetables and stuff like that, and that's why you probably need to use vinegar, and sometimes some people will use other stuff to clean everything, and that includes cleaning the meat. And so if you have the choices on this one, if I was in a supermarket, I would probably not buy things that are for a refrigerator, because things that are for a refrigerator you can buy in a market, like a farmer market or something. And so this one is too expensive, too weird, whatever. I would probably buy, a hell of a lot of canned food and others, like canned meat, canned bread, or canned anything. Because that way, I don't have to deal with the refrigerators. I don't have to deal with all that headache. And also, these things, already people know that they have an expiration date, and you already know what you're getting. And it's already divided into portions and things like that. And if I was in a supermarket, I will also, buy several things that are already vacuum sealed, or they are already prepared, like the tasajo thing, meaning they are prepared with salty things and whatever. It's things that will absorb the oxygen in these things, so that at least they will stay fresher for longer. And that way, because there is no way in hell that a supermarket can compete with a farmer's market in terms of freshness. Because obviously a farmer's market will have freshness all over the place, but, supermarket doesn't have that. So the countryside restaurants might be your best closeness thing to being like a farmer's market. So anyway, about other thing that is related to food is how do you pay for the food that you are consuming? Because you see, a lot of people will buy food or medicine thanks to credit cards. And during hard times, you very, very, very likely will not have access to credit cards. And not having access to certain credit card limits and stuff like that is going to limit a lot the food that you can actually, buy. So this one is also going to be a big issue, because certain places, like let's say the US, right now, they are buying the food online. That means that the actual supermarkets are probably disappearing. And so food you can create a famine situation by just manipulating the credit cards and then destroying the food thing that you can order online. Because try to imagine if you don't have internet. If you don't have internet, let's say 10 days, how the hell are you going to order the food for 10 days? That means that you need to go to the actual supermarket. So what happens if the supermarket is already very empty? Because it's not just you going to get the food, it's everyone. And the supermarkets are adapted to the fact that they are losing clients. And so, like I said, when you're choosing all the time, buying online, you are destroying local businesses, and you're destroying the physical supermarket and the physical thing. You are destroying it because you're choosing the online business. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point is that the online business depends upon two things. Well, actually, three things. Depends upon electricity, depends upon the internet, And it also depends upon credit cards. Then you are like, no, I can pay with crypto. Yeah, not everyone will accept crypto. And also, like I said before, crypto is a whole new other issue. And point being that when you go, for example, to a place like Amazon and stuff like that, you need a credit card. So basically, no power and no internet means you have to go to the supermarket. And if you go to the supermarket but you don't have the credit card, or they won't take the credit card because the system is down, or because the bank has decided to shut down the credit lines because it is hyperinflation and they cannot afford to loan you the money for 30 days and then you pay them back without having the interest, because that means that they are losing money. So all the credit cards will be, more than half of the credit cards will just be gone. So if you are depending upon internet, electricity, and you are depending upon the credit card to buy the food, you are in big trouble, because these three things you cannot control. The supermarket can have access to the debit card and credit card system, and they can have generators, which means that they don't need the electricity system. However, they will need the connection with the bank, which can be a problem, so you might need another way to pay. But still, it's doable, it's manageable. However, you not having access to the credit cards because the credit cards are not working, or way worse, let's say that, when you buy something with a credit card, the supermarket has to pay a fee on that credit card. If it's followed, suddenly the bank says, oh no, the fee that you are going to pay me for the use of the credit card is no longer 1%, but it is going to be 10%, then more than half of the supermarkets overnight will choose not to take any credit card. Because if they are making 5% or maybe 8% of the profits, when they're selling you, for example, rice or whatever, it's only 8% to them, and then they have to pay 10% if you use a credit card. It's not doable for them. Or even if it is 15%, but they have to pay 10% in the credit card fee, because banks do no longer want to lose all the money, so they will increase this fee. If banks decide to increase this fee, you will have to pay it. So a lot of people, like half of the people, will go, if you use a credit card, you have to pay me 20% more. So let's say if the item is $10, you have to pay $12. Period. So they will tell you up front, if you are buying with a credit card, you need to add 20% more. And that's because they don't want to deal with this 10%, and then they will add the other 10%, because they have to have accountants and all of that dealing with the new change that the bank just did. So they will need more people to manage the same transaction. And they're not going to pay it. You are, because you are the one who is choosing a credit card. And so, it is extremely bad, the situation in which we depend more and more and more upon the system. So what you want is to, number one, manage to figure out how the hell to set up a farmer's market in your community, no matter what. A farmer's market that can work twice a week, no matter what, in your community. If you don't have that, you are going to be in a hell of a lot of problems, because you will need gasoline to go out to the countryside, and then you will need money to do in all of this. So basically, you being poor, meaning you not having access to credit cards and all that stuff, just became extremely expensive. And so, this is why a lot of people will start selling their own products, meaning you start producing tomatoes or whatever. And if you manage to produce them in very good quantities in your house, you might be able to sell it to a restaurant, to a local restaurant, or you might be able to trade it with somebody else in your neighborhood, in your community. You give them a little bit of this plant, and then they give you a little bit of their plants. I mean, I have done this a lot. there are neighbors that I have that they will grow avocados and mangoes and other things that I don't have. However, they don't grow rosemary and lemongrass and other things that I do have, because not every plant will grow everywhere, and not every plant will have the same kind of deal. And a lot of people, growing rosemary, growing stevia, oh my God, 9 out of 10 people that will try to grow the stevia plant will not be able to manage it. My mom is 1 in 10. She has a stevia, which is, everybody keeps asking her what the secret is. So we have a stevia. And so a lot of people will want to trade that with us, but we don't trade it. We just leave it for us. But if we wanted to trade it, we could make a little bit of a business with that. And so what you want is to have backyards that contain fruit trees. Doesn't matter what kind of fruit. If you need a fruit tree in your backyard, at least one. Be careful of the type of root, when you are growing this thing, because if it is a root that will destroy your house, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. I have mentioned this in other videos. So, but you do need some sort of fruit, and you do need a little bit of a garden, no matter how small it is, because the small thing that you can have, number one, is fresh. Number two is something that you grew, and you know what the hell, and you're in control of that thing. It will take time, and it will take water, and it will take a little bit of money and resources, but it's worth it. And remember to protect the garden from prying eyes and from other people that will probably steal whatever the hell you're growing, especially if it is in the public side or whatever, and it's going to be like a big issue. So, like I said, you need to be able to understand that whenever there is a system involved, then you are not in control of that system. And if you are not in total control of that system, you need a backup plan for everything in case that thing fails. So for electricity, you can have generators or whatever. For water, you can have wells and stuff like that. I don't know, depends upon a hell of a lot of things. For internet, no substitute for that one, but you can use radios and other things. But however, online shopping and stuff like that, good luck with that one. And, and credit cards and others, you might need trading skills, which is not for everyone. And you might need cash, or you might need other form of currency or whatever. And again, you probably don't want currencies that require internet and stuff like that, because if you go to a market, farmer's market or something like that, they are probably not going to wait half an hour from you to be using a machine that they don't have or whatever, to try to get cryptocurrency things while they are, updating the chain thing and they're charging you or whatever, So, try to go with you being in control of you. That is called adulting, meaning you become an adult. Now, the process in which you become an adult is when you start making your own choices, as in what to eat, how to eat it, and a hell of a lot of other things, realizing that, your parents might have done the best, but now it is up to you, because you and only you are the one that is supposed to be handling everything. There is no support from anyone else around you. That's why it's called adult. Any adult has to be independent entirely. And sometimes that means independent from the system, especially if it goes to the food thing. Because, if you don't know how the hell to produce food or whatever, then you better have an extremely good skill that you can trade for food process and food per se. That is also doable, because a lot of people will need very skilled people to do a lot of things, and you might be able to trade that, and you might be able to do this thing. But if the situation arises in which you don't have internet power and all of that, then like I said, you need a farmers market that goes into your community at least twice a week, no matter what, for example on Wednesday and on Sundays. And then people from all over the place will put trucks filled with fruit, vegetables, meat, fish, whatever it is that they're bringing, and they will sell it to you during that day. They will sell you fresh cheese, they will sell you everything. And this is important because, like I said, it's going to be very fresh. And the problem with that is that you're probably going to need more cash. And you are also going to need to have this programmed into your community, because not everyone will like having a farmer near, farmer markets near their house, because it will attract flies and people and noise and all of that. So, but you do need it, and it's going to be an immunological topic, especially if you don't have one right now going on in your community, and then you need it, and then where the hell are you going to put it? And you will need permits and a hell of a lot of other things, and that involves politics and stuff. So you might need to start working on that right now, when there are good times. Because when there are bad times, yeah, good luck with you trying to put together, the 20 people to try to agree. Hell, you probably have a husband or a wife, and sometimes the two of you cannot agree, let alone 20 people. So, it's going to be one of those things that, you will need very good luck with that one. And you need planning, and you need to come up with an arrangement and stuff like that. And so, I hope this information is helpful. So thank you for watching. And remember that this is a reproduction list. So you might want to watch this one from the beginning so that you might get certain things. And thank you for the support for those that sent the coffee, the Amazon gift card, and those who share the channel. And as always, if you have any comment or question, you can, just write them in the section here, and I will try to answer them or help you out with this one the best I can when I can.